Right now, nearly half of all adults in the United States have hypertension. That is more than 120 million people living with chronically elevated blood pressure, often without symptoms, slowly damaging their arteries, kidneys, brain, and heart. And public health researchers are warning that this is not leveling off. By 2050, projections suggest over 60% of adults could be hypertensive. Doctors call it normal. They call it age-related. They call it genetic. But here's the question nobody wants to ask. If high blood pressure is so natural, why didn't it exist for most of human history? Because for centuries, including during the medieval period, chronic hypertension was extraordinarily rare. And that should stop you in your tracks. Before we continue, pause for a second and think about this. Have you or someone close to you been diagnosed with high blood pressure? What explanation were you given? Stress? Salt? Family history? Leave a comment, because the historical record tells a very different story. The historical paradox. Medieval peasants lived brutally hard lives. They endured cold winters, food scarcity, infectious disease, and relentless physical labor. They had no antibiotics, no blood pressure medication, no cardiologists. And yet, chronic hypertension, the slow, decades-long elevation of blood pressure that plagues modern society, barely appears in historical medical texts. Physicians like Avicenna and Al-Akawini carefully documented pulse qualities, vascular tension, and circulatory disorders. They described rare cases of fullness or excess pressure, but these were acute conditions, not lifelong diseases affecting entire populations. Even skeletal and mummified remains from pre-industrial societies show minimal arterial calcification, a marker strongly associated with long-term hypertension. This wasn't because medieval people were healthier overall. They weren't. It was because the conditions that create chronic hypertension didn't exist yet. So what were those conditions? Potassium-rich diets versus sodium-dominant diets. Medieval peasants consumed massive amounts of vegetables and legumes: cabbage, onions, leeks, beans, peas, lentils, kale, turnips, often daily, often in large volumes. These foods are naturally high in potassium. Potassium is not just a mineral. It is one of the most powerful blood pressure regulators we know of. Modern research consistently shows that higher potassium intake lowers blood pressure even when sodium intake remains moderate. One landmark analysis published in Hypertension found that populations with high potassium intake had significantly lower rates of hypertension and stroke, regardless of salt consumption. Traditional diets often delivered 4,000 to 6,000 milligrams of potassium per day. Modern Americans average less than 2,500. At the same time, sodium intake has skyrocketed, not from home cooking, but from processed foods. This imbalance causes blood vessels to constrict, fluid to be retained, and pressure to rise. Medieval diets were not low salt, they were high potassium. That distinction is critical and almost never discussed. Whole grains, fiber, and magnesium. Medieval peasants ate bread daily, sometimes over a pound per day. But this was not modern bread. Their grains were stone ground, coarse, intact, and rich in fiber and minerals. Fiber slows digestion, reduces insulin spikes, and improves vascular function. Magnesium, abundant in whole grains, plays a direct role in relaxing blood vessels. Multiple studies, including data from the Framingham Heart Study, show that low magnesium intake is associated with higher blood pressure and arterial stiffness. Modern refined flour removes up to 80% of magnesium and most of the fiber. The result? Faster glucose absorption, higher insulin levels, more inflammation, stiffer arteries. This isn't speculation, it is biochemistry. Medieval bread nourished the vascular system. Modern bread stresses it. Sodium. Context matters. Yes, medieval peasants consumed salt, but salt came with food, not embedded in everything. Salted meat was occasional. Cheese was eaten in small portions. Most meals were plant-based stews diluted with water. Modern sodium is different. It is isolated, concentrated, and omnipresent. Over 70% of modern diets come from packaged and restaurant foods, not from salt shakers. When sodium enters the body without potassium, fiber, and water-rich foods, it raises blood pressure dramatically. This is why studies show that sodium restriction alone produces mixed results. Context matters. Your ancestors did not fear salt. They balanced it. Beverages and the absence of sugar. Medieval peasants drank water and weak beer. That beer was less than 2% alcohol and contained almost no sugar. They did not drink fruit juice. They did not drink soda. They did not drink sweetened coffee. Liquid sugar is one of the most powerful drivers of hypertension. Studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that sugar-sweetened beverages raise blood pressure independently of body weight. Fructose increases uric acid. Uric acid impairs nitric oxide. Nitric oxide keeps blood vessels relaxed. Remove it, and pressure rises. This sounds technical, but the takeaway is simple. Medieval peasants drank fluids that did not chemically tighten their arteries. Modern humans do, daily. Meal timing and insulin. Medieval peasants ate 2 to 3 meals per day. No snacking, no constant insulin stimulation. Insulin causes kidneys to retain sodium. Chronically elevated insulin means chronically elevated blood pressure. Modern research on intermittent eating patterns consistently shows reductions in blood pressure, even without weight loss. Medieval eating patterns naturally supported this physiology. They weren't fasting for health, they were fasting because food took effort, and their cardiovascular systems benefited. Continuous movement. Physical activity wasn't optional. Walking, lifting, digging, carrying, all day, every day. Modern studies show that frequent low-level movement improves blood pressure more effectively than isolated exercise sessions. Sitting for prolonged periods increases arterial stiffness within hours. Medieval peasants didn't work out, they lived in motion. Their arteries remained elastic. Ours do not. Sleep, circadian rhythm, and stress. Medieval people slept with darkness and woke with light. Modern sleep research shows that circadian disruption increases blood pressure within days. 1 week of short sleep raises systolic pressure measurably. Add chronic psychological stress, emails, financial anxiety, constant alerts, and cortisol remains elevated. Cortisol raises blood pressure. Medieval stress was acute and physical. Modern stress is chronic and invisible. Your body reacts the same way. Modern medicine excels at emergencies, but chronic disease is treated reactively. Blood pressure rises, medication. Number improves, case closed. The underlying causes remain untouched. Potassium deficiency, insulin resistance, sleep deprivation, sedentary living, ultra-processed food. History shows us that hypertension is not inevitable. It is environmental. This video is educational, not medical advice, but history is one of the strongest forms of evidence we have. If you want to move closer to how humans lived for centuries, eat vegetables at every meal, especially leafy greens and legumes. Increase potassium naturally through whole foods. Replace refined grains with intact whole grains. Reduce ultra-processed foods rather than obsessing over salt. Eliminate sugary beverages. Eat structured meals, not constant snacks. Move throughout the day. Prioritize sleep as a non-negotiable. Actively reduce chronic stress. These principles are reflected in DASH, Mediterranean, and traditional diets across the world, all associated with lower blood pressure and longer lifespan. The medieval peasant lived simply, not easily. But his cardiovascular system was not under constant chemical assault. We traded rhythm for convenience, balance for abundance, movement for comfort, and we are paying the price. If this video made you rethink what normal really means, like it, subscribe, and share it. And tell me in the comments, have you or someone you know dealt with hypertension? What were you told? Subscribe for more forgotten secrets and self-sufficiency.